Slack you. The recording came off because I wasn't active on the screen. But we're gonna read up, and we're just gonna keep on rolling. And it says, Daniel answered and said, "Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changeth the times and the season. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom to the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light and the light dwelleth with him. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers, who hath given me wisdom and might, and hath made known unto me now what we desired of thee, for thou hast now made known unto me the king's matter." All right, so he prayed unto the Lord, and the Lord gave him the interpretation. And it says, "Therefore Daniel went unto Arioch, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. And he went and said unto him, Destroy not the wise men of Babylon. Bring me forth before the king, and I will show unto the king the interpretation." Then Arioch brought Daniel before the king in haste, and said unto him, "I have found a man of the captives of Judah that will make known unto the king the interpretation." Remember, because Daniel was an Israelite, and he was dwelling in Judea at the time when King Nebuchadnezzar took over. When he took over the land of Babylon, when he took over the land of Israel, when he took over Judea, I should say, and took all the Israelites out. All right, and he brought them captive into captivity. And it says, the king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, "Art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen and the interpretation thereof?" And Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, "The secret which the king can had demanded cannot the wise men and the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayers show unto the king? But there is a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and thy visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into thy mind upon thy bed what shall come to pass hereafter. And he that revealeth the secret maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. But as for me, the secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom, for I have more than any for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation of the king, and thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. In other words, what Daniel was saying with that is that this isn't any of my will. This isn't because I'm much wiser than anyone else. This is because Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. This is why I'm going to be able to tell you this interpretation, because the greatness of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right, and it says this image's head. Okay, it says thou O king sawest, behold, a great image. This image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee. All right, and the form of thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, and his breasts and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, and feet part iron and part clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image. Let me see. The stone was cut without hand, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and break them into pieces. So we're going to break this down slowly. This is verse 32. It says, the image's head was of fine gold, and his breast and arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass. All right, so this is talking about this image right here. This is essentially the image that Nebuchadnezzar saw. And in the gold, right here in this image, this is a beautiful picture that I found on the internet. It says, this section represented the empire of Babylon, which Nebuchadnezzar was king. Gold is a very fine a very prestigious metal. All right, and it says silver chest and arms. A silver chest with two arms signifying the empire of the Mede and the Persians, or the Medo-Persian Empire, which conquered and supplanted Babylon. All right. So this is talking about the Medo-Persian empires, the arms, the two arms, one arm being the Medes, the other arm being the Persians, and silver also being a prestigious metal. All right, but we need one of the best details to kind of look at here is that as you travel down, right, this is like a very big detail that is important to note. As you travel down, the value of the metals, it slowly starts to decrease. It decreases. By the time that you get to iron, I mean, one of the things that makes iron such a good material to build with in this modern age is the fact that iron is extremely, extremely inexpensive. And it's a strong metal, but it's inexpensive. So Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom is up here. It's the head, it's gold. Then you have the both arms, the Medo and the Persian Empire. Then you have the bronze belly and thighs. All right, this section is going to represent the Greco-Macedonian Empire of Alexander the Great, which actually ended up overtaking the Medo-Persian Empire. All right. Then you have the two legs. All right, which is a representation of the Roman Empire. After Alexander's death, it says here, his Hellenistic empire continued in a divided form until its divisions were taken over by Rome. All right, the two legs apparently signified the East and the West division that characterized the late Roman Empire. All right, and then the last one is the iron and the clay. All right, the feet and the toes extending from the legs of mixed iron with clay, a brittle and unstable mixture because it would not bond well. These represent the final stages of the Roman Empire, which is made up of the 10 kings, some strong and some weak. All right, which is our modern age right now. This is where we are right now. We are in this section of the statue. And now what we need to understand is that there was a great rock. There's a great rock coming towards it. And that rock is represented by who? By Yahweh Shai. All right? Fucking Satan, man. This is represented by Yahweh Shai. All right? Yahweh Shai. All right? Who the world inwardly calls Jesus Christ. That is that stone that's going to break them into pieces when he returns. All right, and it says, then the iron and the clay, the brass and the silver were broken into pieces together. This is verse 35. This is Daniel chapter 2, verse 35. And it says, then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken into pieces together and became like a chaff of the summer threshing floors. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them, and the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, all right, a great government, a great kingdom, and filled the whole earth, all right? That's talking about the kingdom of the Israelites, Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, all right? When this statue was destroyed, all right, this statue being destroyed is going to represent what? It's going to represent your ascension into being the kingdom, into being in the kingdom of heaven, into being the kings of the earth, all right? Our rightful place, man, but we're not one of those men, man. Right, and it says, this is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the fields and the fowls of the heaven hath given unto thee, hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them. Thou art this head of gold. And after thee shall rise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another kingdom of brass, and they shall bear rule all over the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much iron breaketh in all pieces and subdueth all things, and iron that breaketh all these it shall break into pieces and bruise. Whereas thou sawest the feet and the toes of potter's clay and part iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it the strength of iron. Forasmuch thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. And as the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. And whereas thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, thus shall not cleave to one another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and shall stand forever. All right, that's talking about the kingdom of heaven. All right, under Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai. All right, under Yahushai, to be exact. All right, but sanctioned by Yahweh. All right. And it says, for as much thou sawest the stone that was cut from the mountain without hands, and it shall break in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold, and Salakia, the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter, and the dream is certain, and the interpretation therefore thereof sure. Then the king Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and worshipped Daniel, commanded that he should offer the oblation and sweet odors unto him. The king answered unto Daniel and said, of a truth it is that your God is a God of gods, and the Lord of kings, and a revealer of secrets, seeing thou couldst reveal the secret. Then the king made Daniel a great man, and gave him many gifts, and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, and the chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Then Daniel requested of the king, and he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon, but Daniel sat in the gate of the king. All right. So let's put Daniel in a good place. Let's put Daniel in a good place, man. Let's put Daniel in a good place, because now at this point, Nebuchadnezzar respected Daniel, and for a very short moment, he gave glory unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. All right, but as the heathen goes, this is going to change. Nebuchadnezzar eventually imposes a worship of the golden figure, and attempts to extort the servants of the Lord into worshiping the idol, proving to be a bad idea. And that's going to be for part 5, all right, which is going to outline, the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and it's also going to bleed into the eventual downfall of King Nebuchadnezzar, with a few large portions of scripture that kind of do all the talking for me. All right. So I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. All right. I hope this lesson has been edifying, and until next time, shalom.